If the actual visit it comes as an instruction, that doesn't mean that every individual would go. We will still, as we have done everything else, go according to instruction that we get as to who it's appropriate to make such a visit and who it isn't appropriate, depending upon many factors and depending upon our instruction. So I just wanted to clarify that so that you don't have the notion that everybody automatically will go if we get instructions that this task to take place. Now, Mirko, do you want to state your question?
Should we take any precautions that the mailing address we might leave not get passed on to other relatives?
What do you say to that, Keith?
Well, first, we're not going to leave the impression that we're going to correspond with them. Therefore, you say, I'll try and have the mail forwarded to me, but I'd rather you just keep I don't want to be getting letters from everybody in the family. I don't know.
First of all, the way you say the question sounds like that you think it might be part of the task that everybody give a mailing address, which is not our intended instruction. Our instruction was, if you are pressed for when will I see you again, or when will I hear from you again, that then your response was, after being pressed for that kind of thing, that, well, I don't know, but I can give you a general delivery where you can be in touch with me, or it'll be forwarded to me. That was the basis for that instruction.
Like if someone was concerned about you're going off and never hearing from you again, if you felt that concern, then you could give them that, but you would ask them not to give it out to anybody.
Yes, it's not something that you're, like T said, that you're thinking, well, now I'm going to have letters going back and forth from all the family or friends, whoever might want the address. That's blowing it out of shape.
In other words, you've got to stay on the track. You don't want to, just like someone asked the other day, can I tell them about reflexology? Well, we're not sending you there to educate anyone. You want to remember that if you go, you're going there for one reason, and that is to ease their mind, to let them see how you're doing, and that you're okay, and that you have the freedom to do that. But to go there with the idea in mind that you're going to share anything with them.
Do you know what T meant, and that you had the freedom to do that, so that they won't think that you're locked someplace and you couldn't do such a thing? Do you see what we're saying? Because they have all kinds of very bad, wrong pictures. Go ahead.
Well, that's all I wanted to say, but you want to remember that, like Joe said, that we know we said that we'd like to send all of you at once. That's T and Joe's vehicle possibly, because the quickest and the most simple is what we always want to do. But we also know that that's not the way the next level works. They usually decide as it comes up who to go in according to circumstances. Now, we want you all to think about the task as if you are going to have that task to do. And you want to be sure and stay on the track and not get carried away. Like we firmly believe that a lot of you are actually looking forward to making contact with you. Instead of wanting to accomplish the task. In other words,
it's a very difficult task. I wouldn't look forward to it at all. And it confuses us when we feel from some of your class that they're kind of looking forward to it in a way. I can't imagine looking forward to it, but because because you're going to have to stay in a place that the surroundings will be trying very, very hard to not permit you to stay in that mental frame of mind. So we know that you want to pass a test, and that if you're given a task, that you're quite willing to do it, and you hope you can do a good job. But you shouldn't, if you're looking forward to it, it almost makes you wonder whether or not you kind of want to see if so-and-so still there, or that kind of curiosity, or so-and-so still has a good attitude towards me, or maybe I can check up on some friends. Or that's looking at it from a human point of view. And like T said, even though each one of you are doing homework, preparing, should you be called upon to do this task, also none of you should be disappointed if you don't get instruction to do such a task, and others do. It certainly shouldn't be that something's wrong if you're disappointed if the task doesn't come your way, because it's not like if you don't get the task that you get a poor mark. So there'd be only one reason why you'd be disappointed, and that's because you were looking forward to the visit, and maybe the wrong way, instead of looking forward to the test. So we hope that the test won't be how you're going to respond if you don't go. That would be, because it means if you have that kind of test, then you've gotten a little bit off base on how you're picturing the task. What was the second part of that question?
Would it be right to ask them not to give the mailing address to other relatives without checking with me first?
Well, I think
T clarified that they wouldn't give it to anybody. Period.
Just give it in confidence, and if anybody wants to write to them, they can write to that person that they gave them.
That's right. Okay. Do you all have any questions in this regard?
Any questions from the doctor?
I guess I was a little concerned because I haven't
Don't cover your mouth.
I guess I was a little concerned because I hadn't had very many questions at all, even the ones we asked me.
That's okay.
I look forward to it like going to the doctor and getting shot in the arm.
Yeah.
Everyone's over.
It's the willingness of now I don't mention this, being willing to do it. And if after hearing that there may be a possibility that all of you won't go, and you feel a little bit of disappointment, then I think you will know what we're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
In other words, you shouldn't feel disappointed, because it could mean one of two things: that you are looking forward to going, or second, you were looking forward to going somewhere, which you don't
Right.
need to be.
Maybe looking forward to a trip, or maybe just looking forward to an opportunity to be away, or maybe looking at the visit in a human way. So
again, we're not saying we're only talking because we have not gotten instructions to do any of this.
No.
But we're letting you know what comes into our minds as it comes to us, so that you will know and you'll be prepared.
Do you all have any questions? Okay. Let's say this is just a possibility. We're just preparing ourselves for possibilities. But if we got an instruction that, say we sent most of the people, this is, if we get such an instruction, this is what we might do. If we got an instruction, say, at one time to send most of the people who had been in contact through the network newsletter, then we would have those individuals, because we know, even though we would try to discourage it, even though you would try to discourage it when you visited news network people, you would try to discourage communication between each other and comparing notes. You know that some of it's going to happen. So we would say that those who were related to the to the network newsletter would say that quite a number in the class, as many as wanted to, decided to go and visit at one time, and the reason we did it, we decided at one time, is because we didn't want some worrying about why so-and-so got a visit and I didn't get a visit, since they're in communication with each other. And then that would also explain, since you had gotten together and decided to do it at one time for that reason, it would explain why they were going at one time, and why, when they compared notes, the visit was at the same time. Do you remember the other one?
I have it written down.
Okay. All right.
We're talking about notes and reports that come to me. This is mostly for the Satellite 3 people because you are the ones who are writing the reports to me. But you can't imagine what some of these reports read at times. You repeat words. I've read some reports where there's two sentences are just alike. In other words, they write one sentence and copy the same sentence and repeat itself. And your writing isn't very clear. We have to go to your writing is about the worst.
Hard to read. Exert a little more effort.
It's very difficult to read some of the writing. And it isn't just Lagodi, it's a lot of individuals writing that we have to read. In other words, once you write something, check it over and see if it's if you're able to get somebody to read it, see if they're able to read it. Get somebody who doesn't know what you're talking about. Because if you know what you're reading, then you can easily read what is on there, even though you can't hardly read it. And make sure you check it and see that there aren't two words like and or VV or one word meaning something. We have to fill in the letters to make up the sentence. And all of that is just your brain skipping beats, so to speak. And you want to make sure that you direct your mind to do something in a more detailed way and more accurate way. That's the most important thing in regard to that.
This one, but I just had a question about
The ears a little bit. I read where your ears, you know how teachers used to grab you by the ears, and that's supposed to be a stimulant. And if you're, I'm not saying go around, but pulling your ears, but they say the older you get, the harder your ears get. You know how little baby's ears are real soft, and that they can be set, and the harder they get, the more atrophies your organs. In other words, it's kind of like reflexology. The ears have different parts of correspond to different parts of your body, different little areas. And if you just move your ears around and just massage them, rub them once in a while in the earlobe, right down here, it's very good for stimulating the facial muscles. And when people feel exceptionally cool, there are parts in the ears that you massage that will warm you up. And so, if you feel a tender spot, then just gently massage it like you would on a reflexology until it goes away.
How about the nose? Do the nose?
No.
Does wiggling count?
No.
Probably helps.
Okay, we got it. Good.
Anyway, I just thought I'd let you know the latest thing.
Here.
Thanks.
Okay, several years before joining this endeavor, one classmate started trying to write a book. It was a science fiction book involving extraterrestrials who got off the track flying the beginning of Lucifer and Company. The book was not destroyed when this individual left, though it was hidden in parts rearranged so that it would be difficult to make any sense of it. They are not sure if anyone has found it, but were wondering how would be the best way of handling the circumstance if the book had been discovered.
Okay.
So is it staying ready?
I don't see what the question is. I don't see what the problem is. If it's found, so what?
What if it, if somebody wants to publish it?
I don't.
Certainly don't want to get you all involved.
No, she doesn't want to go try to bring it back.
We're sending you off there. Let's stay on the track.
That's off the track.
We're
Things
sending
like that.
you,
Just,
if you go on that track, you're going back to what truth is. What is truth? Redeeming sciences. You're not going back to truth. You're not
or to
going
start
back.
up any old thing.
No, or we're not sending you back to pick up anything that you left to be heard. only if they push you into taking it, because we don't want to feel uncomfortable or make them think that you're trying to be difficult or something like that. Whatever it takes to make them happy, where you can say within your future, that's what we want you to do. But as far as that book goes, I don't know. I feel like that's kind of off the track.
Yes, I'd forget about it.
Okay, what things about relieving anxiety. Some of the things that I can imagine, I just want to cover my best. I can imagine parents saying, well, where was the last place you lived? Trying to make they feel comfortable with knowing a solid object kind of thing. Or what was your last job? Or what was the last job that you had? You tell me that you're not working right now. And I thought that I just wanted to check with links, just give them. I lived in El Paso. I lived in Colorado Springs. I lived in Albuquerque. Or I worked as an organizational consultant.
Be a cook also.
I've worked as a cook. I worked as a delivery
Because you're
man.
not doing it, and you have been a cook.
Right.
That would be okay. There's nothing wrong with saying things that you're not doing,
Okay.
okay, or that you don't expect to be doing again.
Mm-hmm.
By all means, don't say, I'm not into computers.
Yeah, you're right.
Well, I tell you where I wasn't in office.
Where are you going from here? Where are you going from here? You say that you're in the process of moving. Where do you think you'll be moving to?
I say, what you do is say, I don't stay any place in particular very long, and which is a lot of it. And just say that I'm not sure where I'm going at, but I'll tell you, if you need an address, then that's when you can come up with the sheriff general delivery type thing. And you can say, I will have the mail forwarded to me wherever I am. And that's what you
And you can say, that's all I can say.
That's all. Say
That's all I can say.
all I
That's
can
as definite as my life is.
So they'll say, well, where are you going
I'm
from here?
sorry, I'm not going to buy that.
Okay.
Because if you're going to let them, first of all, I don't think they're going to have that
Okay,
attitude.
I was just trying to get in my brain.
And secondly, if you let them have that attitude, you're going to get yourself buried, in all kinds of uncomfortable circumstances. So I think by your attitude and the things that you say, you can keep them from putting you in an interrogation kind of. I want to know the particulars. I want to know where you're going and where you've been. Say, well, I thought I came for a visit with you all, and what do you want to do, or what have you been doing, or it's like there are all kinds of things, but you're not going to let them pin you down. If I were your brother or your dad or something, and I asked you those questions, merely by the look on your face, I would be able to tell I need to back off. If you don't readily respond.
Right.
And if they're so insensitive that they can't tell that, then you'll have to say, I'm telling you what the score is, and I don't know if you're pushing me to try to get me to be more detailed than I can honestly be. You see what I'm saying?
Experiences, I think the big ones that have gone on and come back, they're usually more interested in catching them up on what has happened since they've gone. And they ask very few questions about what they have done.
It's almost as if they decided the one thing they weren't going to do was interrogate you, or they'd never see you again.
Well, I just wanted to have it clear in my mind. I just wanted to relieve their anxiety, and I was thinking of the phone call that I had.
But what has T said? What is it you're trying to relieve their anxiety about? It's not where you've been or where you're going.
Right.
But that you're healthy, and that you're well, and that you're in a frame of mind where you're doing what you want to be doing.
Okay.
And that's the way to relieve their anxiety.
Okay.
But whatever you do, don't feel like you have to answer it. In other words, learn how to handle it. Like someone being interviewed by reporters. They learn how to handle reporters. where they, if they ask them something that they don't want to answer, they don't answer.
And you're pretty...
Or they usually come back with some kind of garble that doesn't make a difference.
I think the reason I got a little quick on you about this is because I think you're perfectly capable of the answer yourself. And I've seen Arthurian circumstances where he could come up with an answer in a hurry, even when he didn't have one. And I think you're very capable of coming up with these answers if you've thought about it. Well.
Yes, I've thought about it. I just wanted to... I was trying to relieve their anxiety, and I guess understanding what anxiety is or what kind of anxiety they might have.
The main thing they're going to want to know is that you're healthy and you're happy.
The factor involved.
You know, when Bill was in St. Louis, and I had been 6 months here, no one asked me what I'd been doing. And one time one person said, you haven't told us anything about what you've been doing. And I said, well, because no one was asking.
And that was the end of it. They just asked me the thing. They just said, well, it's pretty good.
And so I didn't tell them. And so that was it. Okay. You know. So I don't feel like people are going to press you.
Okay.
They're going to be happy to see you. They want you to know everything that you forgot.
You could even write about it. I don't really care to give you a rundown.
Right.
Like to forget. Tell you about Cousin Jane and Aunt Susie and all those, you know, all the children they had, and your old girlfriend got married, just had 10 children, aren't you glad you didn't marry, and all that stuff.
I've had plenty of experience with aircraft tasks, having obeyed those kind of questions.
Do you have a girlfriend?
Sure.
You know, they're going to ask you something like that, or boyfriends or something. In other words, try to put yourself in a place where you are visiting with somebody and try to decide what, or try to figure out what they're going to ask. And try to say it in a way where you're not really lying to them. In other words, you want to be honest, but you can't expose yourself.
Mm-hmm. That's right. It's just the limits.
You have to be security-minded. And so you don't want to say something, make up something, oh, I'm engaged and all that stuff, because then they'll want to know when the wedding's going to be, and will you let us know so we can come to the wedding and all that stuff, go and send your presents, you know. So be careful of things you say. Don't say any more than you have to, and be honest with them. But be also very security-minded and not let them know anything about where you are and so on. And I think you can do it. That's your task.
Any other questions? You got one?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't think it will come up, but there is one possibility. The one that I would go back to see would be with my mother. And if I say I don't want to see Jerry, I don't think there will be a problem. But I can't.
Oh, this has come up before. This is someone said...
There's a Susan.
No.
That's right, and we have said that anybody that you don't want to see, that you suspect the people that you're visiting might be in touch with, and it's your job to let them know that you don't want to see them.
You still have to be in control of who you see.
That didn't bother me about telling them. I believe it would be respected. I have no reason to not think it would be respected.
Well, if it wasn't, I wouldn't say it.
Okay,
it's as simple as that. You're there for two reasons. You're there to ease their minds. You're there to protect yourself in every way.
The moment things have been made uncomfortable for you for any reason, that's the time to leave, not when the clock runs out.
I think that if you don't want to leave with bad feelings, just say, oh, I've got to make a phone call or something, you know, and then make a phone call and then say, goodness, I've got to cut my meeting short, this visit short because I have to get on back. Something's come up, and this way it'll be protected.
I'll tell you one thing we'd like to know. We'd like to have everybody write a little note to Link right away telling us if they should be asked to go on this task of visit, where it is they feel like they will be going. What town.
Okay,
So that we could know that.
there was something that came up, I think, the last 2 weeks or 2 weeks ago, or something about people that live close to each other. If you want to know, I guess you'll be able to discern that and listen to
You're
the
going to
note.
say that in this note, like
Yeah.
if say that you go to such and such a town and 15 miles down the road is such and such a town and you'll probably be going over there to visit while you're there, then, you know, if it's all in that same vicinity, you'd say that any visits do or in such close proximity to this town that there wouldn't be any travel involved, or, because we can only send you to one place, and we consider one place meaning the reasonable diameter to the place that you're going. Do you follow what we're saying?
Yes, but what I was thinking of was,
And really the people ought to, you ought to kind of make your base at the place that you're going. And if somebody wants to come see you and you feel like it would be an important thing for them to come see you, like another member of the family close by, then call them up when you first get there so that they can make plans to come visit you over there rather than counting on your having to go visit them in another place. Isn't that right, Steve?
Did that answer your question? Was the answer about your question about going and visiting two different places?
We would go to one place, I should go to a central location and have them come there. Like this morning, they took us to one.
Well, first of all, you ought to go to the place that you feel like it would be best to go. And then let them come there if they can. You understand what I'm saying? Do you understand? I can't tell Jim and turn this off. Okay.
If from primary visit location, the individual goes to another place to visit, which was not part of the original plan, would he handle contacting the crafts in the same ways we do now, here at our out-of-craft cast, etc.? In other words, call back before departing and again upon return.
Are you talking out of town or in the same town?
He's covering from both ways. He says, will there be any difference due to longer distance?
That doesn't make sense. I don't understand.
I guess it's...
Are they asking, when you get there, would you call to let us know that you were there? That you made it okay, and then when you're ready to leave, call again?
No, I think what I'm saying is if you go, like let's say you go to visit your folks, and then you've got an aunt or an uncle someplace else.
You call and let them know.
Do you hand it like, I'm going on a short journey, I'm going to be right here.
No.
Should I call back?
No, not necessary. But we have given the instruction that you don't go to someplace else unless it's within a range of 30, 40 miles that wouldn't take a chunk out of the place that you're visiting, wouldn't take any significant chunk out of the place you're visiting. In other words, but other than that, like you wouldn't go to a place and then drive half a day to another place. Because we're not planning the task that way. We're planning the task for you to go to one place, and if you need to run around that town visiting people, or making phone calls, or go to a nearby town that's 30 minutes away, then that's okay. That's within instruction.
Every time you leave where you're going, you don't call and let
You don't have to report that you've gone.
That's the question.
Right. You don't have to report that you've gone to the town 10 miles down the road or something instead of being at the house where you said you were going, if that's the question. Anything else? Okay. We want to talk to you about a little something else. for a few minutes. And as questions have come up about what to say if I'm asked this and that, if should I receive a task of going to visit relatives, it has made it clear to us that a lot of you still don't have sorted out very clearly in your mind what this classroom is about. And even as we read some of the accounts that you wrote in your little books that you brought or that were sent to Blackhawk, we realized that a lot of you still don't know exactly how to look at the class. And so we're going to ask you to do a little task for us, and that might help you sort this out. Or we're going to ask you to look at it from a certain perspective. And this is just a play-like perspective. This is, in other words, some of you still think in terms of, which is tardy for you, that you're in this classroom to get on board a UFO and go to the next level. You know, and that's as unimportant as the man who works at the stock market to think in terms that the bus is primary. His bus trip to the stock market is primary, or that his bus ride is primary, or to think that the older senior brokers are primary. Instead of his task is to learn the business and to do it. You understand that? And your task in this class is to learn the ways of the next level and do them. And actually, when the bus comes, or the fact that a bus is coming, or the fact that there will be older members to be with when you complete your task, are relatively insignificant to learning the ways of the next level and doing them. So we're going to give you a little task. You don't have to do it, and we mean it that you don't have to do it. But the task is we want you to write lessons, or however your head can think of them clearly, lessons or segments of your studies in a manner that they could be presented to humans. And not necessarily every human, but let's say that humans who are looking for these segments. In other words, let's say someone is looking for better self-control to conquer their irritability. Then what you can write is a lesson on conquering irritability. Let's say that they're looking on the understanding of the programming of the brain and its relationship to genetics. And you could write a segment about that. In other words, we want you can take your all the things that you've learned and try to categorize those different things into different categories. And think about it and work on it until you get them categorized into segments. And then you can take one of those segments and write a lesson on how to accomplish what you have accomplished. And you're not going to be writing how to board a UFO. You're not going to be writing on how to become a member of the next level. Do you see what we're saying?
In other words, what you want to do is think in terms of giving some information to humans in order to upgrade themselves, and using the information that you have been taught, actions, responses, attitudes, conduct, everything that you would, if you were trying to teach somebody each thing, how would you go about
teaching and write up a little paper on that.
Yeah, like freedom comes only through control. Our growth is only through restraint. And things, I'm just giving the crazy little ideas of titles. But you can come up with all kinds of neat titles. And we want you to try to come up with a neat title of a segment. And write a brief, just like, you know, when you go in the Catholic Church and they have this little stands where they have these little pamphlets. And they're on different subjects. How to control alcoholism, or how to, what about abortion, or, you know, all these subjects, where you're going to categorize your classroom studies into topics and subjects. And then you're going to take those topics, or a topic at a time, and write a little lesson on it. A little lesson of how this can be accomplished. And you're going to do it in a way that you could actually present it to another human who was looking for that lesson. Okay? Any questions? And as soon as you get a little lesson written, send it to Lynn.
And they can label the outside lesson.
Yes. Segment lesson. Okay? Label it segment lesson. Okay? And send little segment lessons to Lynn. Now, we don't know when this class will culminate at the bus stop. And the important thing is growing as much as we can grow in the meantime. And so we might as well think of in terms of the more we get accomplished in getting our heads in the right place, and the more we understand these things, then the more prepared we're going to be. So we've gotten this instruction to give you this little task. And who knows, we might, instead of having an astrologics, we might open something called something else, like space-age behavior or something, where people might go, or they may not even go, but where from that place we would send out little pamphlet lessons on different topics, and where maybe they would go occasionally to hear a lecture. So if we want to think of your little segment as a little segment lesson or segment lecture, or whatever it is, but it wants to be able to speak to a human on a topic of an aspect of your class. Okay?
At the time you're doing it, just think of what you're doing at the time, not necessarily writing something. But remember that little thing you used to say in, back in San Antonio, I forget what it was, I'm sure. We never dropped it, but I'm sure you all have.
Create this garden lesson and make it
the information that you're writing down, you've got to remember that the next level is using you, and they're using TMDO to help upgrade this garden. And it takes an awful lot of energy for TMDO to do it, to do it by themselves. In other words, let's say the weather needs to be changed. It takes an awful lot of energy to keep it cool enough here for us to be comfortable. Now, you can say it's coincidence, but I beg to differ with you, because we spend a lot of energy getting it where it's comfortable for us. Now, the same thing, like when we see people act the way they do, like, for instance, there's a TV show on now called Woman to Woman. And they, yesterday morning we had it on briefly for a moment, and we turned it off simply because we didn't, it nauseated us. So, but they talk about the freedom of sex. In other words, they're talking to parents to tell their children how to use birth control.
They were encouraging the thorough education of contraceptives and birth control even before puberty.
Instead of teaching the child restraint,
In other words,
they're
they were,
teaching how to take
that's
care
right.
of them.
They're taking for granted that your child is going to be totally sexual even before she's in danger of having a child.
Used to,
And-
simple.
And so, therefore, they want to educate her. Well, how's she going to stand a chance in being anything other than that? If you take for granted that that's what she's going to be, and you say, therefore, I've got to teach you about all these items of birth control, can you see what I'm saying?
And the only way to keep a child from getting into this early sexual activity is to threaten them, to tell them that they're going to the devil and scare the socks off of them so that they're afraid to even have sex when they get older, you know. And so, in other words, what you want to do is to know that the humans are on a level where they know very little that you know. You have a lot of knowledge that you can get to them. In writing it down, you are putting that knowledge into the ether, so to speak. And therefore, the humans are there if they're looking for something greater. They will be able to draw that information and try to improve. But right now, they don't know how to. If they give up sex, they send them to a psychiatrist or a psychologist. And if they use restraint, they wonder what's wrong with them.
Yes, you're supposed to go out and holler and scream and get rid of your hostilities and anger instead of control it.
So the thing of it is, we've got to get some energy going in this direction in order to get this world in the place that it's supposed to be.
In other words, we'd like to think in terms of making an effort to turn it around, to turn this into the direction that society is taking. We would like to see it turned around. Now, there are a lot of people, we think, out there who would like to turn it around, who are really fed up with the direction that things are going. So if you can put out these thoughts as you think on these and write these little segments, then it can be helpful to them. Now be careful as you write the little segments, you don't talk mandatory. You don't say you must do this. You say if you want to do this, you have to do this. Now that makes sense. You see what we're saying? If you want to control your temper, you have to learn not to express it at the times that it bubbles up inside of you. You've got to keep it controlled in a way and realize that there's no harm in keeping it controlled. You know, there are limitless little segments that could be related to the genes as you now see it, because the genes are just everything. You can see how from the transference of genes got humans into a reincarnation and got them into everything else that you can think of. So there are lots of things that we don't want to give you a lot of clues. We want to let you think about these things and come up with some segments that you think would be interesting and stimulating and kind of directed toward turning the direction of conduct around, step by step. Step by step. And nothing is going to be said about you got to leave everything behind, you know. But you're saying if you really want to get a grip on this particular aspect or this segment or problem that you have, here are some ways that it can be done. Do you see what we're saying? And we would like for you to think about it. We've been thinking about it. Let me just for the fun of it. We were thinking of some little titles and just jotted down a bunch of little titles. And these titles most of them are inappropriate. 99% of them inappropriate. But these are just titles that came into our mind. Not necessarily for segments, but let's say a title for the total effort. A title for the total effort.
Do you know what he means by that? In other words, like if you write up a bunch of things and they are worth giving, printing them up, typing them, making copies of them, and giving them out, then we will have them under a little heading.
Like a label of the organization or
right.
Something like that.
You know how we had astrologics.
Yes.
We would never do that, but it would be under the heading of like astrologic stuff. Something like we talked about.
Now, and these, we're not suggesting anything out of this. We're just sharing with you, because some of these, we're just trying to get the total idea into 2 or 3 words, and most of them we can see wouldn't be appropriate because of where their heads would be when they would read that type. We can understand that all of them could be appropriate from where you sit, because you could see how it would apply, independence from self, advanced self-control, improving your genes, freedom from your destructive needs, timely individual and social change, controlling your own life, refining your life, changing our lives, turning our course around, direction turnaround, direction reversal, control center, change through self-control, modern concepts and practice, reincarnation now, starting a new world behavior, modern behavioral changes, advanced behavioral changes, and parentheses, ABCs. Reprogramming your personal computer. Brainwashing by choice. Learn to wash your own brain. Genetic programming through behavioral control. Freedom through change. Making life more livable. A new way. Reason for living. A higher satisfaction. Regaining your life. Beyond Religion Study Group. Brave New World. Alternative behavioral changes. ABC. A healthier outlook. Space-age conduct. Rising above primitive conduct. Now these are just some categories that we thought, and the only reason we read them through is to give you a better oversight of the picture. And then you would take this and break it down into a lot of segments of aspects of change, of change that you have gone through, both in understanding and in practice. Okay? So play with it and write some lessons.
And when you get them,
Right.
I'm just trying to get in my mind how humans are going to respond to, like we wouldn't mention anything about becoming a member of the next level.
There's the next level.
They're trying to get some guideline of where this new conduct is heading.
Okay. Well, see, I think that humans are wide open right now for anything that might be an answer to turning around the direction that society is going in. And if for nothing more, look at the Unitarians, for example. They don't, as a church, they don't believe in God. So you could say, well, then why do they have a church? What is their motivation? Why do they get together and practice what Unitarians preach if they don't think they're going to heaven? Believe it or not, humans are quite capable of wanting to improve themselves and the world around them, and teach the people around them, their youngsters or other people around them, how to improve themselves in the hopes of making the world better down the line. You see what I'm saying? And that's not a very bad perspective. That's a very healthy, unselfish perspective. Instead of the one says, well, I'll only change my ways if it gives me a ticket to heaven. You know, but one who says, I don't know whether or not there actually is a God or what he is or if he is, but I still know that the world I live in is rotten. And I want to work toward making my life and the world around me a better world. And hopefully, so that generations ahead, it will be an extremely better world than it is today. Do you see what we're saying? So this is what we're talking about. And that's enough motivation in itself. If they try, we better. Shall we wind it up?
We would want to make these individual statements recorded, so it wouldn't be very long.
No, this is the reason we've got to categorize segments down to one particular subject. A subject that is small enough that it could be like a little brochure or a little pamphlet, several hundred words, no more than that. Do you see what we're saying? That's the reason we gave the example of the little pamphlet you find in the slots at the Catholic Church, because it's 3 or 4 pages, 4 or 5 pages, and they talk, they get to the point without excess words on that topic.
They're thinking in detail. The other day, Don and I were in a store and we wanted some beans, and we asked for half a pound of about 3 different kinds of beans, and so when the lady ran us the bill, or gave us the bill, it amounted to more than what we thought it would be. And we said, well, how does that come out? Because a pound is so much, and a half a pound should be this much, half of that. And she said, well, what I did, I just made it simple, and I rounded it off or something. I never could figure out how she did it. And so then we said that all we want is a half pound, because we felt like it was an opportunity to teach her something, because it was quite obvious she couldn't think of it.
Well, what she had done was overcharged us, so that we got 3 items. We ordered a half a pound of 3 items. And she overcharged us, and so we said, how did you get that figure? Well, when she overcharged, she'd already rung it up on the register. And so we said, now wait a minute, that doesn't come to, if you take that thing that's listed up there, a pound is so-and-so, and you cut it in half and multiply it by 3, it doesn't come up anywhere close to that figure. Then she was just, oh my goodness, here, it was a matter of maybe 30 cents or 40 cents, and she thought, what kind of impossible people are you all when all it is less than $1.
But anyway, we insisted upon it. And she, instead of, she could have done 2 things. She could have started over.
She could have ordered a register and gotten exactly half a pound of each item.
Do you know what she did? She went and added more beans to the bags in order to compensate for the price she come up with.
In other words, she went and brought up each bag to the amount that would justify what we were paying.
And I said, but we only wanted a half a pound. And it was like, oh.
She thought we were the most impossible. Now, this is what T's talking about. The humans don't like to think in detail.
And this woman acted like she ran the store.
Yes.
Now, the point we're getting at, that is an excellent lesson to teach somebody right down. And you write down everything you know about it. It may be 1 page, it may be 2 pages, but you don't have to write a whole story, We're not asking you to write a book. And you can take anything, controlling yourself, as far as your expressions, your attitude, or anything. There are a number of things that you can tell humans without mentioning anything about the next level, or anything about going to heaven, or bringing any religion in. Now, we don't want to bring religion into it, because like Joe said, Unitarians don't look at anything about religion. So you want to do it on a very...
actually, it's on an intellectual level. It's on a...
Right, an intellectual level. And let us see what you come up with, and we'll go from there. But think in the meantime, as you're thinking of something, when you're thinking about that, you're putting that information into the...
Now, there's certain topics, like restraint, for example, that if you wrote a little lesson on restraint, you would have to touch on restraint as it applied to a lot of things. And in that sense, a little lesson on restraint it would be permissible to touch on several areas of where restraint would be valuable. But see, on each one of these, you want to clearly show the problem and the benefit of the problem, the way to work on the problem, and the benefits that can be reached from working on it.
But you don't talk about giving up sex.
Well, you can talk about controlling it. You can talk about not acting like an alley cat. And because a lot of people are, believe it or not, are ready to get some control of their own passions. They have been out and like someone who maybe was married at a young age, and he was married 10 years, and he never was disloyal or anything, and maybe he married the first girl that he ever had sex with, and he never had sex with anybody else. Then he gets divorced, maybe 7 or 8 years later, 10 years later, and he decides, well, I'm going to go have the fun that I wasn't old enough to have. I was too stupid and naive to have before I got married, so I'm going to go out. And then next thing he realizes that what he's doing is hanging out at the bars and places and just taking any female vehicle to bed one night after the next. And the next thing you know, he's having to make regular trips to the doctor because he's fighting off the diseases that he's come in contact with. And pretty soon he gets totally frustrated and says, what have I gotten myself into? So he's looking for control of his passions. He's looking for control of his desires.
But what's so hard is the fact that if he's trying to control it, but yet he's in a crowd where there is no control,
right,
then he's going to be the eyeball, and he
right.
has to know how to handle it.
He's also got to stop being in that crowd where the others haven't gotten to the point of frustration where he has.
And that applies to just about anything. So we think that's something good for y'all to do. Y'all do it in your spare time. You can't take off if you like or anything else. That you can't work on it if you want to.
Okay. He just brought up that computer paper is okay to use for these lessons, but for everybody to make a special attempt to make their handwriting very readable.